ya la la, ya la 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 la. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Welcome everybody to Congregation Orami and everybody who is at home watching, I hope. And Rabbi Ahuva, if you're out there, we'll try to do a good job. Let's sing Yedid Nefesh in the middle of page 1. Yedid Nefesh av harachaman, Yedid Nefesh av harachaman, Neshev za'avdecha el retzonecha, ish la 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 la. What? Yarutz avdecha kemod alai alai, yishtachave el munhardecha. And at the bottom of the page, Shir Chadash. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai kol ir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Laurie, would you like to come up and do the Shabbat reading and candle lighting? Let's see. Sorry, I forgot you, John. That's all right.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us.
As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Elohim melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu v'chaved shel Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'chad likner shel Shabbat. At this point in our service, we share any simchas that may have happened during the week that people would like to share with us. Anybody have anything special happen? Yes? Acrylic nails for the first time ever. Okay. Anyone else? John?
Lori had a birthday.
I know. We're going to recognize that a little more officially later on. That's wonderful. Uh-huh. And how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Okay. Okay. So in gratitude for all of this and just for the pleasure of being alive and the blessing of being alive, let's all sing Shechecheyanu on page 2. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shechecheyanu kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shechecheyanu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh Amen. And now we turn to the handout and we'll sing Shalom Aleichem. It's on one side of the handout with the Don Olam on the other side. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boach Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nilu Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Say Techem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And now on page 3, we're going to sing the short version of Lecha Dodi, which is Boi Chala. Boi chala, boi chala, boi chala, boi chala. Chala, boi chala, boi chala, boi chala. Kadodi, lekrat kala, penei Shabbat nekah. Now on page 4 at the top, let's all read together Meditation 1. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a player on the mystery of the withered leaf, unripened fruit so fair, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Would everyone please rise for the Baruch Hu? Everyone, please be seated. And on the top of page 5, let's read Ma'ariv Aravim. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. And now let's sing Roll into Dark. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day becomes night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'hoshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives its form? Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. All rise for the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto L'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto L'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Please be seated. Let's say the V'ahavta. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשפך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני Adonai Elohechem. On the top of page 7, let's read together reading A. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that everywhere we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to the promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. And continue with reading B. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children, the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. And now in the center of page 7, let's sing the long version, the 2-verse version of Micha Mocha. Ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha netar b'kodesh, no ra tehilo tosefele, no ra tehilo tosefele. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, okei ayam lifnei Moshe v'Miriam, ze eli anu v'yamaru, ze eli anu v'yamaru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. And at the bottom of page 7, let's all read. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. On page 8, let's read together reflection 1 and then reflection 2. Pray as if everything depended on God. Act if everything depended on you. Those who rise from prayer better persons, their prayers are answered. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a broken will. Please rise for our central prayer, the Amidah. Please be seated. You are eternally mighty, Adonai. You give life to all. You sustain life through love and great compassion, supporting the fallen, healing the sick, freeing the captive, keeping faith with those who sleep in the dust. Who is like you, source of mighty acts? Who resembles you, sovereign of life, who causes deliverance to spring up and faithfully gives life to all? Blessed are you, Adonai, who gives life to all. And now we pause for a moment of quiet reflection or prayer. Shalom Rav in the middle of page 10. Shalom Rav, O Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, O Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon, lecho ha-shalom. Ki atahu melech adon, lecho ha-shalom. Shalom Rav, Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit u'b'chol sha'ah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam. At this point in our service, we say a blessing for healing for those who may need healing of body or spirit. In particular, Marty Cohen, Alyssa Freeman, Beth Levine, Rabbi Jerry Levy, Jeannie Saunders, Paul Woodstock, and Elsa Fryman. Are there any other names we want to add to the Misha Berach list? Okay, let's sing Misha Berach on page 13, I think. 13. Misha Berach Avoteinu Makor HaBracha Imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Makor HaBracha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. In the first year of the Exodus, the essential elements of Jewish civilization came into being that have shaped us for over 3,400 years so far. We had our origin story in the form of the Passover story, a story we call today liberation theology. We had the body of law that set out the expectations of behavior in the form of the Ten Commandments. Jewish civilization was to be based on law, not on the whims of a pharaoh or a king. Last week we celebrated Shavuot, the giving of the law. We had a ruling class in the form of 12 tribal leaders and judges, and with Moses at their head to settle disputes. We had a visible sign of the presence of God in the form of the Mishkan, the portable tabernacle in which the Ark of the Covenant was housed. And we had a religious order and a sacrificial system that would allow people to atone for their sins so that they could feel whole again and worthy of living in community. There could be no prisons in such a wandering community, so it was essential that those who did not obey the law could be punished and returned to society. A wandering community had to be an orderly community. In this week's Torah portion, we find introduced the idea of a formal blessing of the whole people of Israel to make them feel protected and holy in an uncertain world. In this week's Torah portion, we're given the text of the three-part blessing known as the Birkat Kohanim, the blessing evoked over the people Israel daily by Aaron, the high priest, and by his descendants, and that we still say today. The blessing is short and sweet, only 15 Hebrew words, which in English are, may God bless you and guard you. May God shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May God turn his face towards you and grant you peace. In various traditions today, we substitute the words Adonai or Hashem for God, and we remove gender references. The word countenance is often substituted for face, but the word in Hebrew is panim, face. Aaron, the high priest, confers blessing in God's name to the whole people of Israel. He confers the blessings of security, material sufficiency, outer peace, and inner peace, and asks that God's face be turned towards the people, that God not ignore the people Israel, nor be indifferent towards us. In a world of natural and man-made danger, the idea of blessing is wishful thinking, of hoping for the best, but it is nonetheless powerful. Aaron, Miriam, and Moshe were all Levites. The tribe of Levi was singled out for honor and special responsibilities because it was the only tribe that did not participate in the incident of the golden calf. Levi became the tribe of priests and priest assistants. Members of the tribe of Levi had the duty to assemble, disassemble, and transport the hundreds of pieces of the Mishkan whenever camp was broken. Levites carried out the animal sacrifices that were part of worship rites then. And Levites wrote and sang songs as part of the worship service. When settled in ancient Israel, Levites were not given land as were the other 11 tribes, but were given priestly duties throughout Israel and were supported by the other tribes. The Mishkan was used for roughly 700 years until King Solomon built the first temple. And the system of priests continued roughly for 1,500 years until the destruction of the second temple by the Romans in the year 70 CE. After that, it was the rabbinical system that replaced the system of priests. Kohanim are the direct lineal descendants of Aaron, the high priest and a Levite. Both daughters and sons inherit the title through their fathers, but only sons pass on the designation to their children. In Orthodox and conservative synagogues today, Kohanim have a few ritual duties, but in Reform synagogues they do not. In both ancient times and today, Kohanim, or rabbis, recite the blessing over the congregation by raising their arms and spreading their hands and fingers as such. Their fingers are splayed to make the letter shin, the same letter that appears on mezuzah cases attached to the right doorpost of the home of a Jewish family. The letter shin also appears on Jewish Superman costumes. Superman was invented by 2 Jewish writers, and his name, Kal-El, is usually translated voice of God. Shin stands for the word Shaddai, often translated as Almighty. However, the famous French 12th century CE commentator Rashi comments that because Shad means breast and Dai means enough, instead of thinking of Shaddai as Almighty, we should think of Shaddai as a nursing mother. This evokes a different kind of blessing on a home, enough food rather than protection. The Birkat Kohanim imply both protection and sustenance. Tombstones of Kohanim in Jewish cemeteries often show the hands gesture, and tombstones of other Levites often show a hand holding the 2-handled water pitcher used in ritual hand washing as a symbol of their job as priest's assistants. Both the late Canadian songwriter Leonard Cohen and the late actor Leonard Nimoy, who played the role of Mr. Spock in the Star Trek series, were Jewish and Kohanim by birth. William Shatner, Captain Kirk on Star Trek, is Jewish. Leonard Cohen sometimes said the Birkat Kohanim in performances because he considered singing an act of worship. In the development of the Star Trek series, when a unique Vulcan hand gesture was needed, Leonard Nimoy suggested raising the right hand in the sign of the letter Shin, accompanied by the blessing, "Live long and prosper," his shortened version of the Birkat Kohanim. In our time, any Jew can recite the Birkat Kohanim, and in some Jewish families, a parent blesses his or her children every Friday night with those blessings. I would say that it's very powerful emotionally for a child to be blessed explicitly, for a child to feel beyond the implicit blessings of feeding and bathing and kissing and hugging, the expressed wish that all be well. I think the children who are explicitly blessed in this manner grow up to feel blessed, to feel secure, and feeling secure is a great blessing. The Kohanim acted as agents for God. They passed on God's blessings to the people. But if you think about it, there are two sides to blessing. There's the giving of a blessing, and there's the receiving of a blessing. I would say that both sides are equally important. In giving a blessing, one needs to hold carefully within oneself a feeling of humility and love and goodwill towards people being blessed, remembering that one is only serving as a conduit for God. And if one is receiving a blessing, one needs to feel receptive and open to the idea of being blessed. Intentionality is important, I think, in both directions. I think it's important to remember that we are all givers, and we can be blessings to each other. Each of us has times of strength and times of need. No one is strong all the time or needy all the time. And this has to be deeply realized and accepted as the nature of being human. Children are a blessing to parents as much as parents are a blessing to children. Friends are blessings to each other. The idea of mutuality is, I think, very important to remember. Last Shabbat, Rabbi Ahuva spoke about the idea of gratitude, and several congregants spoke very movingly about times they had been in need and someone had been unexpectedly kind to them. That kindness had caused the receiver of blessing, when things got better, to pass that kindness on, what we call today paying it forward, or to work for social change so that there's less hunger or less homelessness or easier access to health care. It's important to realize deeply that every act of loving kindness helps make the world a better place. When a good person passes away, we Jews often speak of that person as a blessing. We say his life was a blessing, that her life made a difference in the world. We say that the world was a better place for that person's being and acting in the world. And it's certainly a worthy goal to strive to be a blessing to others. When I was a child, Rabbi Noah Go Lincoln had the custom of gathering all the children of our congregation in Northern Virginia onto the bema. And while the cantor said the Birkat Kohanim, he would move through the crowd, placing his right hand on the head of each child lightly for about 5 seconds. I can still feel that hand of blessing. Today, it is more common for rabbis, when they confer a hands-on blessing, to place one hand or even two on the recipient's shoulder or shoulders. But I feel that placing a hand on the head is much more powerful than a hand on the shoulder. A few years ago, I told this story to Rabbi Ahuva, and when she gave me a blessing for a special birthday, I asked her to put one hand on my head. Her hand still felt as powerful and as emotionally satisfying to me as an adult as it did when I was a child. To end my remarks tonight, with your help, I would like to try a little experiment. I would like for us to bless each other with the Birkat Kohanim by placing our right hands on the head of a spouse, family member, friend, stranger in pairs, and we will say the blessing together. I will say each blessing in phrases, and you will repeat the phrase. We'll do this in Hebrew and in English. The important thing here is intentionality. I want each of us to try to feel both the giving and receiving of blessing. If you are strangers rather than family or friends, just remember that one of the commandments is to love the stranger as oneself. It is easier to feel receptive if you bow your head. If you are a parent with 2 children, use both hands, but also allowed your child or children to put a hand on your head. I hope that we each can feel the blessing moving in both directions, the giving and the receiving. When we're done, you can hug or kiss or whatever feels right to you. If this makes you too uncomfortable, just don't do it. But let's try. So would everyone please stand and place your hands on each other's heads? We're not holding people down, we're just barely touching. Grace? Okay. Repeat after me. Yivarechacha Adonai. V'yishmerecha. May God bless you with all you need. May God guard you from harm. Ya'er Adonai. Panav elecha. Vichuneka. May you feel God's light within you. May you act for good in the world. Isa Adonai. Panav elecha. V'yasem lecha shalom. May you live in a time of peace. May God bless you with inner peace. Thank you. Please be seated. Let's see. Now, I'd like to ask Beth to come up and make some announcements, if there are any announcements.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you for filling in and giving us such a wonderful Devat Torah today. Welcome, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. I'd like to welcome the new people, old timers, everybody here tonight. Just wanted to let you know, Sunday is a big day. We have our annual meeting that is for all members in good standing. Please attend either in person or virtually. You should have gotten an email about the virtual options, and it's taking place at 11. Please be here by 11 so we can check you in and get started by 11:15. And it looks like next weekend we have a very exciting, we have a bat mitzvah on Saturday. That's very exciting. So I hope people can attend that. Real Theology has started back up. So that's exciting. Europa next Sunday. And then it looks like Torah study and the routine gets back on the 25th. The crafters are on the 30th. The book club is on hiatus for a few months until September. So but if you have any questions about the book club, let me know, and we can get you set up with those books. And any other announcements that I've missed? Yes, Lori. Okay, so the crafters have changed. Anything else? Okay, great. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Beth. I just learned tonight that we're going to be showing Europa, and those of you who haven't seen it, it's just a terrific movie. I remember it from many, many years ago. Let's see. The only other announcement I have is it was Laurie's birthday yesterday, our president. And so, was it anybody else's birthday in the month of May? Anybody else in May? Stan? So let's sing happy birthday to Laurie and to Stan. We're going to do this in Hebrew. Those of you who don't know it, it's very simple. It's Yom Huledet Sameach, and it's the same tune. Ready? Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet anymore. All right, let's all rise for the Aleinu, page 14 at the bottom, or in the middle. Please be seated. Let's see. At this time, we remember those who are having yahrzeits this week. Among those, Philip Bears, Stella Friedman Bears, Max Fisher, Norman Rayner, Lynn Rayner, Victor Reingold, Simon Friedman, and Herman Fu. Other names we want to remember tonight? Let's all stand as a congregation of supporters for those saying Kaddish on page 15. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah v'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich machutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael Ba'agala uvizman kariv yimru amen. Yehei shemei rabba mavorach leolam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudisha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Da'amiran b'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimrama, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru Amen. Everybody please be seated. Now let's see, one of the perks of being a service leader is getting to choose all the songs I love. So tonight we're going to have two closing hymns. We're going to do Eli, Eli, which we all love. And then we're going to do Adon Olam, which I personally love. And we don't sing very often here. So Adon Olam is on the handout on the opposite side of Shalom Aleichem. So let's sing Eli, Eli first. Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer le'olam, ha'hol v'chayam, rishru shel ha'hamayim, barak ha'shamayim, tiflat ha'adam, ha'hol v'chayam, Rishru shel hamayim, barak hashamayim, tiflat ha'adam. Eli, Eli, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart. Oh, that just does it. What a great song. If we just did Shalom Rav and Eli Eli, that would be enough. Now on to our last song, Adon Olam. We're going to use the most traditional melody. There are 946 other melodies, but we're going to choose one of my favorites. Adon Olam Asher Malach V'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'ed Nasa B'chefso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh V'hu yiyeh b'tifarav Hu echad v'ein sheni L'ham shilo v'chach bira V'li reshit v'li tachlit V'lo ha'oz v'ha'misra Hu eli v'chai go'ali V'tzur hevli v'yetzara V'hu nisi v'manos li Not kosi b'yom ekra Yado avkid ruchi V'yein ishon v'ya'ira V'im ruchi gviati Adonai li below ira. Shabbat shalom, everybody. We're going to have Kiddush and Motzi out in the courtyard, and in honor of Laurie and Stan's birthday, I made both plain brownies and walnut brownies and brought some grapes for those who don't want sweets. So if you could put your programs and stuff over on the table and then meet out in the courtyard, that would be great. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Thank you, Patricia.
need a